Hey guys, Steve Welch here, Beaman Toyota in downtown Nashville. Come to you with another conversation here that obviously a lot of people are home right now. So just getting a few questions, had a few questions over the years of doing this job about valuing your trade. Now coming to you from actually part of our trade lot here right now. I'm walking through some trade-ins. So main question is, somebody said, hey, I looked my car up online and it says it's worth 18.2 to 19.6, and that's what somebody might expect to get for their car. Keep in mind, and the conversation I want to have is that sometimes people come in and be like, well, your car's worth 15, and they'll argue and say no, that the blue book says that my car's worth at least 18.2, and you have to have the conversation and say, but your car, your exact car, your VIN number, set up how your car is only worth 15 grand. So with that question is, why is your car worth 15 when you looked online and online says worth at least 18.2? Here's the thing. What you put online is going to matter for valuation. All of your online items are guides, and that's really all that you should look at it as. It's getting you a rough idea of what your car might be worth in a best case scenario. Now, some people say, well, there's such a range, so my car's excellent. My car's an excellent car. All right, does it have brand new tires on it? Chances are it probably doesn't. Things like that. So what constitutes an excellent car? An excellent car is showroom ready. And that's why you look on, certain websites, they'll say 3% of cars qualify as excellent. There's just not that many. Okay, well, it's at least very good. Okay, have you had a wreck on it? If you've had a wreck on it, even though it's been repaired perfectly, it's not very good. You have a wreck on it. So, fair, poor, which condition did you choose? That could have a major impact on what the valuation looks like. The location. And when I say location, so this is all about what helps to understand your trade value. So the location is, if you look at it, all right, so was the car out of New York? Was it Pennsylvania, Michigan? Was it Denver? Did it see a lot of snow? Did it see a lot of salt? Things along those lines. So if you have an area of the country that sees a lot of bad weather every year, there could be rust, there could be things like that, especially people that buy cars in the South. And I'm going to be really honest with you, they see one that was a New York car, they're not going to pay as much for it. Whereas they see one that was a Georgia car, or they see an Orlando car, or something that's been in Tennessee its whole life, and they see those cars and they say, you know what, I'm willing to pay a little bit more for that car because I know it's a Southern car and it's spent its whole life in the South. Now, we'll caveat that with, what about a car that's from an area like Houston, just after Houston was flooded? Well, now you've got people that won't buy that car because they're worried that it might have been flooded. Now, that car's probably been checked out. It probably doesn't have any issues. And there's a reason, especially if it's at a dealership lot, that they're able to sell it. But the problem is, it doesn't hold that value because there's not as many people willing to buy it. So you have to look at more than just clicking a few clicks online to find out what your car's worth. Now, in the same breath, you might find out that, all right, I clicked on my car, it's in good shape, I'm just going to click good. Well, you might have somebody at the dealership look at it and say, man, this thing's in great shape, this thing's in at least very good, and it said that it was 18.2 to 19.6, whatever I said, and dealership offers you 20 for it. Wow, that was over online. Yeah, because what they did is they ran that same metric and said that a fair offer for that car was 20. So even though online said you shouldn't get more than 19.6, it's 20 because they thought it was a better condition than you did. Now, I will tell you that is very, very rare that somebody comes in and says, you know what, my car is just a piece of junk. My car, now if somebody's got a 300,000 mile, Ford Explorer or something like that, it's been through the ringer, it's got dents all on it, the duct tape panels on the side, the rear bumper is just kind of duct taped on it. Yeah, I'll agree with you. Your car's a piece of crap. So, I mean, there's not a better way to put it. Your car's a piece of crap. But what I'm kind of talking about is the people that tend to argue for their value, that tend to say my car is worth more because. Those tend to be somebody that's got, a 3-year-old Camry, or a 4 or a 5-year-old BMW or something like that, and you're trying to say, well, my vehicle's worth more because. Now, something else that affects your value, and just kind of, I know I've just kind of jumped a little bit, but something else that can affect your value is how many are for sale. And a lot of times people don't think that, but there's been times where people have come in, and said, well, I think my car is worth a lot more than it's worth. And it might be 3, 4, 5 grand more. Well, they're going to look, when they value your trade, they're going to look at several metrics. They're going to look at auction data. They're going to see, number one, what are the cars selling for at auction? Because that realistically is going to be your worst case scenario. If you can't keep it, for whatever reason, if you need to send it to auction, you have your auction fees and stuff like that. But if you have to send it at auction, how much can you reasonably expect to get back from it in your worst case scenario? Now, your best case scenario is obviously to service it, put it on the lot, sell it, make a little bit of money on it, and go that route. But you have to have your contingency plan, and your contingency plan is to sell it at auction. So kind of giving you that little information there. So they're going to pull auction data. They're going to pull your Blue Book data. All of your sites that you're very, very well familiar with. You're going to pull all of that data, and you're going to look at all these different things, and you're going to see which each one is valuing it at. Now, you might have one Blue Book site that says that car is worth 15, and another one that says it's worth 18. They're looking at something different. So that's when it comes to management looking at it and trying to figure that out. They're also going to pull something that will show not just what cars are listed for, but what they're selling for, especially in the local market. They'll usually pull out to 120, maybe 300, maybe 500 miles to try to see what it's selling for. So if they see that car, certified, on the lot, rebuilt for, new tires on it, and doing what the dealership has to do to get it to excellent condition, if they see that particular car on the on their site, and the Blue Book said it was worth 18.2 at your bottom end, but man, everything is listed at 18 and 19 for sale after recondition, your car isn't worth 18.2. It can't be worth 18.2 because you haven't done what it takes to make it worth 18.2. Now, I've had people before come in and say, well, those tires are a month old. Great, you've helped your value. And that's very, very easy to say that you've helped your value on that. But if, you've got some issues, you got a little tick to the motor, you've got, maybe a little bit higher on miles, you'll see that they decline or they decline the value for a lot of that. So you have that. So you have to worry about what's on the market, what's being sold, what it's selling for. And here's something else. Look for how many does the dealership have. If I've got, 20 Tacomas that are available on the used car side, do I need to pay top dollar to get another one? And as a dealership, when I say I mean a dealership, do you need to pay top dollar for another one when I've got 20? Or, I've got 4 of the same color and you're bringing me another black one, and I've got 2 of the same trim, and I've had them on the lot for 30 days a piece, and I haven't been able to sell them. What does that tell me the value of your truck is? It's lower. Now let's turn that around, and let's say that I've got 3 Tacomas on my lot. I don't have any of them in black, none of them in the trim level you're looking for, or in the trim level that you have. I don't have any of that on my lot, but I've got an average turn time of these Tacomas, I'm turning them in 8 days, and I can't keep them on the lot. Well, KBB might say that it's worth KBB, but one of the websites, the Blue Book websites, might say that it's worth one thing. I might be willing to pay more for it just because I need it. I have to have that truck because hopefully the same reason that you can sell it to me for more or sell it to the dealership for more is why you can get more for it. So you definitely want to maximize everything. So here's the main thing you want to do. Go to a reputable dealership. I never suggest somebody sell a car on their own. And can you get more for it on your own? Sure. And we can argue about the best way to do it all day long, and I'll argue against it till my face turns blue. But can you get more for it if you sell it by yourself? Yes. But in most states, you get a tax credit based off of the amount that you sell your vehicle for. So if you sell that car for $15,000, and in Tennessee, let's just use your round number. Let's say that you have a 10% tax on a vehicle. If you have a 10% tax, that $15,000 lowers the amount that you'll pay taxes on for the next one. So you have $1,500 in taxes you're not paying. Whereas if you sold it for $1,500 more and sold it for $16,500 to somebody on the street, you went, hey, I won, you broke even. Okay? So let's just say that's the case. And let's just say you sold it for $17,000. So you made an extra $500 over what you would have made, including your tax savings. And now 6 months down the road, your car blows its engine. Transmission stops working. And you have that person that you sold that car to come back to you and say, you knew there was a problem with that car. And they want you to pay for it. They want you to fix it. They want you to do all of this stuff. I don't want to. I mean, I'm not going to sell that car to that person and risk my own pocketbook by them, I mean, you look at all these judge shows online and you're going to find out that they'd be out of business if it wasn't for people that sold their cars on their own or that bought their cars off of some of those websites. So you'd find out all of those people that, don't do that. So sell your car to a dealership, trade it in, definitely grab your tax credit, get yourself a great deal on a vehicle. But just realize that all of these sites that you go to, all of these Blue Book sites, these things online that'll give you ideas, or a lot of people will even go to a site that that's selling cars. Say, well, I saw my car for sale online. It's $22,000. My car online is $20,000, and that might be true. But keep in mind, they had to do something to it to make it worth $20,000. And chances are, more times than not, that person that comes in says, oh, you got it listed for $20,000, I'll give you $18,500. Now that dealership might not take it, because by the time that they gave you $15,000 for it, and they put $2,000 in service for it, and then they certified it, and they paid even more for it, and you've got all of these extra costs involved in it, and they might have 20 in it, and the guy's telling them, I'll give you 20 for it. Well, they're not in business to break even. So yeah, they listed it for 22 and they're hoping to get 21 out of it, but they've got 20 in it after giving you 15 for it, or they've got 18 in it after giving you 15 for it, and maybe 20 will work for them. But they got to make a little bit at least, and that's why you should go to a volume dealership, because you can sell more cars. You don't have to make as much on each car. So that's how Beaman's set up, that you sell 500 to 800 cars, somewhere around in there in a month. If you make a little bit on each one, you're going to do okay. But if you go to these dealerships and they sell 12 cars a month, man, how are they going to keep the lights on unless they really make a profit on you? So they're going to do everything they can to lowball you on everything. But obviously, there's a lot of tools out there. There's a lot of things out there for you to find out what your trade value is worth, what things like that. And just, if you're realistic in what your trade value is, and why your trade value is going to be what it is, you're going to make a deal. You're going to get a deal. I mean, there's too much out there not to make a deal. So anyway, You're basically, so what I'm going to tell you here is, if you're realistic, realize if you smoke in your car, you've lowered its value. If your car's from the north, you've lowered its value. Unless you're selling it in the north, and then people expect it. If your car's got a ton of miles, you've lowered its value. If you're, if you need tires, if you need brakes, if there's issues with the engine, if there's scratches, dents, dings on the car, if you've had a wreck in the past, you have lowered your car value. All of those tools online will give you something like standard equipment. They will give you the ability to put stuff in. If you put extra stuff in there, like say, oh, well, I've got a DVD package. Well, yeah, but the DVD package in the little carry around box that you plug in, that's not the DVD package they're talking about. They're talking about the one from the factory. They're not talking about aftermarket stuff when they're talking about certain things that are on the vehicle. Do you have the upgraded suspension? Yeah, I upgraded it myself. You have to realize some of the stuff you do to your car actually can lower its value. If you change, if you lift a vehicle and you're in the wrong area, it's not going to be worth more. 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, whatever you select. And sometimes you'll select standard options and look at it and realize that you had an all-wheel drive, but standard option was a 2-wheel drive, and you actually lowered the amount that the value was online. So just looking at all these online things, if you realize that they are a tool, they're a tool. They're meant to help you, and they're not usually going to be a ton away. You're not going to see 18.2 to 19.6 on a car and it's really worth 9. It's not normal for something like that, unless you picked an 09, or you have an 09 and you picked 19 for the year and you didn't realize you picked the wrong year. If you did something like that, then yeah, your value is going to be off. Realize body style changes hurt your value of your car. Model year end hurts your value of your car. Your car got a year older. Even though it's August, your car is now a year older, because the 21s come out and you have a 16. In 2020, your car is 4 years old. In 2021, your car is 5 years old. It matters when they come out for when your value is. So always pay attention to what you're doing when it comes to when you sell your car and what you expect to get for your car. If you're reasonable, you're not going to be upset. If you're not reasonable, then it's going to be a waste of time for you, because you're going to come in, you're going to say that I want 25 grand for a car that's worth 15, and nobody's going to take anybody seriously, because you think the dealership's lowballing you and the dealership thinks that you're crazy. And like I said, these are all my opinions, and it's just kind of a conversation like we've had on a few of these things, and definitely welcome all the comments, and I do respond to everybody. Just trying to kind of produce like a realistic expectation for what your car is worth. Also, while I'm thinking about it, and I do these things off the top of my head, realize that just because you put $8,000 in a suspension upgrade doesn't mean your car is worth $8,000 more. Well, I spent this on doing this. It doesn't matter what you spent. It matters what the value is. So you might have put an $8,000 suspension upgrade and it raised the value $3,000. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would it cost $8,000 if it only raised the value $3,000? Because that's all it's worth to the next person. That's all that the value is for doing that. And like I said, sometimes people modify cars, and when you modify it in a certain way, it reduces the value. I know a few people that they do certain things with cars, and they'll remove the back seats, or they'll do, some type of a modification where they're drilling into the side of the car to put little racks in or stuff like that, and they're modifying the car for their use. Man, that makes all kinds of sense if you're modifying the car for how you're going to use it. But when you look on the Blue Book and you realize that you've got triple the amount of miles you should have on there, and then you've got these racks that are in the back that nobody else is going to use, or the holes from the racks because you took them out, or the lines where something was faded because the rack was in there, or whatever you have lessened the value of your vehicle. If you smoke in your car, you've lessened the value of your vehicle. Most people realize that. First time you take a puff in it, you really lessened your value of your car. If you have dogs that are in your car that are always, stinky dogs, and somebody gets in the car and they've got an allergy to dogs, they're not going to pay as much for it. Or cats or whatever. You got dog hair all over it. Just realize certain things lessen your value. Now, in the flip side of that, you keep your car really nice. You do all your maintenance on time. You get your book stamped with all your maintenance settings or with all your maintenance times. You do all of the right things. Everything's done right. You waxed your car. You've kept it really nice. You're going to be on the top end of the value for that car per the location you're selling it, per the time you're selling it, per all of that stuff that I've already talked about. You're going to be best there. Now, also remember too, safety equipment changes. Things change for the model years. I'm going to kind of give you a little heads up here, and this is just for you guys, so don't tell nobody I said it. If you hear that a model change is coming, so basically that in 2021 they're changing something, or in 2022 they're changing something, and you have the idea that you'd like to get into a new vehicle before that, and I'm not talking about the model change on the new one. So let's say that you're going for a particular brand of a particular make and model, and you wanted to get to upgrade. So you wanted to go from an SUV to a truck. So you're not going to the same one, but you realize that what you currently own, the model change is coming for that next year. You want to get out in front of the rebates when you sell. A lot of times, a lot of manufacturers will give you more rebates to clear out the previous body style before the new body style comes out. The thing is once they add those rebates, you're going to lower the value on your car. You want to get ahead of those. So if you hear that there's something coming up and you have the plans within the next 3 to 6 months to sell your car, move your timeline up. Because if you move your timeline up, it's going to benefit you with extra value, because once a rebate hits, you just lost the value. Now, kind of giving you an idea how that works. So let's say that you have a $3,000 rebate on a car, and then the manufacturer adds another $1,000 rebate on that car. So now it's $4,000 because they're trying to get rid of the last of that thing in the last month before they change over the body style, because next month that body style is coming. If they've added another $1,000 in rebate, you lost $1,000 in value, because the used car has to reflect on the price of the new car. And if you're in the same body style as that new car and you get to where you're $1,000 or $2,000 away from the new one, nobody wants to buy yours. So the dealership has to buy it for cheaper in order to be able to have that gap between the new one and between the used one, and that rebate is going to hurt that gap. So a lot of these manufacturers will put thousands and thousands, they inflate the price, and then they put thousands of dollars in rebates down, and they never intended to get the inflated price. They knew the rebates were on there. That just hurts the older cars. So all that stuff comes into play. They say that the online stuff gets updated with information like that. Just remember, and this is the whole video that I've been trying to do here, is for you just to remember that online is a guide. There's all these websites online. Most of them are not selling any cars. They don't have any inventory to sell. They don't have a way to sell you a car because they don't have any to sell. They've made their money through ads. All right. And here's the other thing, and this is what I'm going to leave you with here. If you think about it, if you have a website where you're giving people car values and everybody goes there and says, well, that's the one that gives me the lowest value, that's the one that always tells me the lowest number, you get less people to your website. So you have and keep in mind, you're paid off of ads. So the more eyes that see the ads, the more money that you make as a website. So if you get this reputation that you're realistic, but you're so much lower than the next guy, and your traffic drops off, that's where your money is. Your money has nothing to do with cars. Your money has to do with advertising. So if you get these people that come to your website and they're going, that one's always low. That one's always the lowest one out there. I'm not using that one because that one's low, because I want my value to say high. You're not realistic on your value, because that one might be the right value. And maybe it's more, but let's just say that one's the right value. You're just trying to find the one that says the highest number. And I don't blame you, because that's what most people want to do. I want to pay the lowest amount I can for the new car and the highest amount that I can get for my trade. But if you're realistic, realize that they're not going to try to take advantage of you. They're not going to try to do certain things like that. But so just realize, we're going to get you the most we can for the vehicle, but we're going to do everything that we can to try to take care of you. So, but anyway, just definitely like, subscribe. Once again, conversation, just my opinions here. But Steve Welch from Beaman Toyota in downtown Nashville. You can reach out to me at buyatoyotanashville@yahoo.com, buyatoyotanashville@yahoo.com. Steve Welch. Happy to help you guys. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.